Hey beauties, it is Lynn Love here, and today I'm going to be reading Lizzo's chart. And I immediately was just so fascinated with Lizzo, and because not only she's just this wave of inspiration and activism and just badassness, but also because I just watched Love Lizzo, which is her new HBO documentary. And that really shared about her history, her timeline, all of her success, all of the things that she kind of struggled with through her voice, through her way. And I think that was such a beautiful depiction of really her expressing her journey and what it took to really become this amazing performer, amazing musician, this person that just pours their heart, soul, and passion into everything that they do and connects really strongly with Black women, with the Black community, and also with herself. And so today I'm going to be going through Lizzo's chart and really talking about her characteristics, talking about her qualities, going through a little bit of her history to kind of tie that in with her Saturn return and all of the things that kind of unraveled during that time. So this is going to be a really interesting reading today. It's really off the cuff, really intuitive as well. I didn't take much time to go deep in the depths of researching. I'm really going to be looking at the charts and kind of like flowing with the conversation. And I want you to take this as well as something that you can ask yourself, like, what are maybe the things that stood out to you? What are the things that stood out to you about Lizzo's journey that can tie into your own? I know for me, as a inspiring musician, and seeing other people do it and just like do it fearlessly and take up all the space, especially as a woman, it was really, really incredibly inspiring. And so I hope that this reading somehow just connects with you on a deeper level and connects with your soul journey. So let's get started. I'm going to pull up Lizzo's chart and share my screen and just kind of talk that through. So let's just do this. Okay, beautiful. So hopefully you can see Lizzo's chart. This is going to be, yeah, coming from astro.com. And apparently this has been rectified and all of that as well. So everything looks good. So Lizzo, also known as Melissa, um, you can also watch her documentary where she talks about her name and she talks about, um, like where Lizzo came from and just like how she's always been called Lizzo and her kind of progression in that. And so she was born on the 27th of April, 1988 in Detroit, Michigan, in the US. And so you can look at her chart. This is being done in Placidus right now. And this was just the chart that I took from astro.com. We all know that Lizzo is extremely talented in her voice, in the way that she expresses herself. She takes up space. She's in completely, her journey has not always been about embracing her body and her self image and has not always been about self love. However, throughout her life, it has been about coming to terms with that acceptance, surrender, love. And to me, it really feels like she's so in touch and connected with God or a higher spirit or just like her spirituality. I definitely feel that. You can feel that kind of just like seeping through the seams during the documentary as well. So I love that about her. Um, and you can definitely see that with a couple of her placements being in the ninth house here. So she has the Sun, Jupiter, and Mercury within the ninth house in Taurus. Also, her midheaven is here as well. Midheaven being, her public appearance, what she's going to be as in terms of a career. And this really makes sense with Lizzo, right? She's a singer, songwriter, a rapper, an activist, a powerful Black woman. She's all of these things and more. And she really, really tunes into that and her identity. So, being the sun, right? Her sun being this kind of thing that she identifies as with, and her body, right? Her skin, who she is, the thing that separates her from other people. It's the ego. However, we oftentimes take the ego and demonize it. However, the ego is what actually differentiates us and makes us unique at the same time. I really feel that from the documentary, she conveys that so well. She's like, am I going to continue just to blend in, or just like, you know, resist what other people are saying about me, or am I just going to like accept that and allow and let go and embrace it and love this body for who I am and what I am. And, you know, I'm born this way and this is my skin. And so that's one of her songs, My Skin, that she first created. And it talks a lot about just strongly, like, just accepting herself and her skin. And I love that. That's kind of the beginning of this path of just empowerment and self love. So I'm going to just talk about her big three here. She has the sun in Taurus. She has Leo rising here. And then her moon is in Virgo in the first house. So with that big three, we can tell a lot about Lizzo just from the get-go. We have the sun being in Taurus, Taurus ruling the throat, Taurus ruling the voice. She's incredibly talented with her voice. She's incredibly talented in the way she speaks and her intonations and you know, her skill level at just being able to just share from the heart. She also has Jupiter and Mercury there being conjunct. So what that also means is that sun, right? That sun in Taurus gives an extra flair, right? It has this extra kind of expansive flair, especially with that Jupiter, which rules reaching larger audiences, being able to tune into her inner spirit, listen to her intuition, and also expansion on kind of like a wide global level. So that is really tied in with her identity as well. She innately knew that she was meant to be a star, and even her father within the documentary talked a lot about that as well. You have Mercury here, which also rules your voice, communicating, speaking, connecting with audiences, just how you move in your daily life. Music was a big motivation for her. She was constantly always moving towards music. She was always directing her action, her energy towards music. Even when her family owned like a real estate business and everyone was in that, she knew that there was another way, and that other way was moving towards music, even when it wasn't guaranteed, even when it felt like maybe this was a big risk for her taking. She didn't choose the comfortable, safe route and the logical, rational route. She instead chose the route that was the unknown. And I definitely feel like that there's elements of that in her chart. But in terms of just the sun being in Taurus, it's really, really powerful here. It's really expanded, especially with that Jupiter, with that Mercury, and with her midheaven being also in Taurus. It's destined that she was meant to use her voice. It was destined that she was meant to expand and connect with so many people. I want to talk about her rising sign or her ascendant. So her rising sign is in Leo. And as you can see, that Leo cusp actually starts within the 12th house. Um, and kind of falls within, you know, like 12th house, first house. So in the documentary, you can tell that Lizzo actually really has a special relationship with spirit, right? The divine, and she has a lot of moments of like centering herself and tuning in to what needs to be done and the creative spirit within. I feel like this is mainly a big part of Leo being here, especially within that 12th house, kind of first house type of relationship where she has a little bit of both. This Leo is ruling. Okay, so well, the archetype of Leo, let's just talk about that because there's just so much to say, right? The archetype of Leo is very much the king or the queen, the artist, the creator, the inner child. When you are just like listening to Lizzo, she is like fun and bubbly and really just like comes out and comes as she is, with her heart completely full, her heart completely there in her music and what she's doing. And so that's a lot of the Leo spirit. And at the same time, she has this regalness, right? You can tell with the Leo rising when they have kind of big poofy hair, similar to like a Leo. She's very, very regal. She has so much yeah, like golden tones to her, which I really loved and I really saw within the documentary. And she just sparkled. Even when she wasn't like wearing sparkly clothes, she was sparkling. And that's really that Leo shininess quality. At the same time, that Leo being in the 12th house and being a little bit in the first house as well, it really talks about her kind of battle within like this kind of internal struggle. Oftentimes the 12th house is the house of undoing. It's the house of spiritual development. It's the house of kind of the uncollective consciousness. It is also the house where we connect deeply with all things and compassion and loving kindness for all people and for ourselves. And so she has a lot of that within her. You can feel that even if she might not say it. A lot of her music just naturally connects with a wide range of people on a very, very deep level. And I think people with the 12th house have that natural ability to just connect on a strongly, very, very deep level that's often unsaid, that, you almost hear and you're like, wow, I feel that way, but no one has ever said it that way. Or no one has ever put it in that light, right? And so she has this beautiful quality of doing that. Then you go to that Virgo moon within the first house, and this is a really special placement as well. I really give a lot of homage and, just brownie points to any Virgos because I'm starting to really realize the power of Virgos and how strong and how pure they are and how, ready to be of service that they are to the community and to their work. And so you can tell that she's such a fighter and that she's such like a strong spirit, and she becomes really unbeknownst to anybody, right? Like she's truly independent. You can feel that from her. That like within the documentary that she's gone through her battles and she's gone through a lot of insecurity and just like hearing people's voices and beliefs and the things like around in her environment and the people that would just like talk about her body, like those were the demons that were kind of surrounding her and that she really needed to confront. That's going to kind of bring me to Pluto, but to regress. um, this this moon in Virgo is a really special energy because that in itself also speaks to her ability to tune into spirit, her ability to nurture herself when she's feeling low or when she's feeling like, she can't do this or she feels overwhelmed. It's really her natural instinct to just nourish herself, to take care of herself, to eat right, to exercise, to do all the things that kind of like really nourish her at a deep, profound level. Or it's just to work, or it's just to create music, right? Or to write. These are the things that really deeply nourish her, and that actually connects and is trying to her, actually no, square to that Venus. So that moon in Virgo is square to that Venus here. Um and there's really something really interesting here about that. Um she oftentimes had this like conflict with her body, right? The deep emotional turmoil that was happening and the traumas that she kind of absorbed when she was younger about her self-image conflicted with her way of loving herself and loving other people. You can see that kind of in that conflicting dynamic there. The moon is also going to take us to more depths, right? And you can see this with Pluto here, Pluto being in Scorpio in the third house. You can immediately, what my eyes are drawn to is this kind of like conflicting oppositions all here with these placements. So Pluto being here, Pluto is of course going to rule our deepest wounds, our deepest transformations. Um, and also being in the third house, again, I feel like this really speaks into the way that she learned about her body and her way of living and behaviors and how to be a woman, how to be a black woman, right? And in her body, those were a lot of the wounds that she grew up with, that she absorbed deep within her psyche, that she needed to kind of confront, as she became an adult, as she really stepped up into using her voice. Again, it was this activation of just facing her wounds, facing her fears, facing these deep, deep traumas that she absorbed, about people kind of talking about her and her way of like responding to it, right? At the same time, she really started activating this ninth house, and also all the Taurus energy here with her voice and her reach to audience by sharing vulnerably to people about what was happening, her journey, her ability to love herself, her ability to accept her body, her ability to just like move forward and do what needed to be done. Um, and a lot of that raw feeling, those raw emotions created some of the biggest hits, right? For example, Truth Hurts, which is where she talked about going through a breakup and just feeling all these feelings and being so sad. Those deep wounds, those things kind of being tied with maybe strong beliefs about oneself or one's worth, right? One's behavior. Um, that would have been really activated during this time. And how she channeled that sadness, that energy, is that she was writing songs. She was like, feeling this kind of strong like intensity, and was just like, I'm gonna just do what I know and what is like just naturally flows through me. And for her, it was writing songs using her voice. So I really think that's a really beautiful way, that this kind of relationship can manifest. So then that brings us to this beautiful sextile here between Pluto and Saturn. So what's really interesting about this is that Saturn and these other placements here work again with that beautiful, those beautiful three placements up top in Taurus, which is really like who she is, right? Who she becomes, who she steps into, who she naturally just gravitates as. And Saturn, again, is that planet of just limitation, life lessons, karmic battles, things like that, and also crises, right? Crisis. We're gonna see that Saturn in being really this, really this like opening, right? Really that opening to her power, and especially being in Capricorn in its natural place, right? And it gives her this major power, this major like ability to just be ambitious. And that ties in a lot with Taurus. That ties in a lot with her ability to use her voice and her work. It wasn't until I think 2019 when she got out of her Saturn return where Truth Hurts became one of the top hits on the Billboard for many, many years. And she became like recognized. And so I'm going to move on and talk about these three placements here: Saturn, Neptune, and Uranus being in Capricorn in the fifth house. And I think that also feels really aligned with her journey as well, with, kind of running into conflicts, like learning a lot of life lessons around her creativity, around her being this voice and sharing her message and self-expression. And a part of this is that Neptune being in Capricorn, her ability to kind of tune in to what is needed and to her best ability to express herself, that being in the fifth house. And then that kind of Uranus being in the fifth house, changing the game, right? Changing the game of music, being a female black rapper. And again, that Saturn in Capricorn being this really special placement that is um trying to her placements within Jupiter, and the sun as well, and Mercury. A lot of her life lessons might even inform that Jupiter, that Sun, that Mercury. And so there's a really special relationship between those three placements and those three placements at the top at Taurus as well. You can see that she actually has a grand trine between her moon, these placements within Taurus and Capricorn. What that also means is that she has a lot of strong earthy energy to her, and you can tell by just her voice and her body type and who she is and how supportive she is in her songs and to the people that are around her. And she harnesses that earthy energy and uses her voice. Within Chinese medicine, we also say that earth is related to singing. So by her being the singer, by her being the songwriter, she is really, really harnessing that earth energy. So it's really special seeing her do that. I also want to talk about the Mars here in Aquarius. She has a lot of activist roles and things that she really stands up for. I feel that when she asserts herself, it's going to be about innovation. It's going to be about standing up for what's right, for justice, for the humanity, right? And a lot of who she is and what she does now kind of innately is humanitarian. By her just singing, by her being herself. She also says this within the documentary that she is a walking political statement, right? She's a walking active being an activist, just being in her body. And so I think that really stands out to me as with her loving her body, so that kind of that Mars connection to Venus here, by her learning to love her body, by her learning the right words to say about her body, by her changing her thoughts and her beliefs about her body and her image, also being in the 10th house of image and public, how the public sees you, and that working really well with Mars and in Mars and Aquarius in the 6th house. And by her really establishing that love, that innately becomes her service, that innately becomes something that she knows that is a big part of her and her mission here. So I love that so much. And the last thing I really want to hone in on today is the North Node in Pisces within the 7th house, kind of almost close to the 8th house, but still in the 7th house. Um, Meaning that her south node is going to be in the 1st house. And so that is a really interesting that's a really interesting journey, because that south node being in the 1st house in Virgo is a lot about overcoming those internal battles, that anxiety, that inner criticism, those those times where you can just overanalyze things and overthink things, right? And overthink the way you should be seen, the way you should act, the way you should do things, which has been a lot about her healing that and her path, especially with fulfilling the moon. The lunar needs is really important as well. And so with her north node being here in Pisces, that indicates this journey in this lifetime towards embracing all of it, embracing all of who she is, the capacity of what she holds, her potential, her gifts, her connection to others as well, and how special that is. And so that north node being in the 7th house, she pays a lot of homage to people that she's worked with in the documentary, the people that have supported her, the women that have come before her, all of her inspirations for music. She talks a lot about that and how she's learned to open herself up to being able to embrace those qualities as well. So she learns a lot from these like close relationships, these close intimate relationships. A lot of her major big hits like Truth Hurts is actually stem from a big breakup that she had. A lot of her other songs have been about her boyfriends and things like that. And so she learns a lot from her relationships, and she takes that and she creates with it. Pisces again is that energy of being able to channel, being able to create, being able to just be in the mix of that energy, being completely absorbed in it. So there's no other option but to create from that place. So she has a lot of that energy here, and it seems like her journey is a lot about, releasing the self-doubt, releasing the inner criticism, and just embracing compassion for herself and for others, and also taking inspiration from those really close intimate relationships that she's had, and putting that energy into whatever she wants to do, which is using her voice. And so I really feel like there's a strong just mix of powerhouse here, singer, activist, someone that's overcome a lot of insecurity, a lot of self-doubt and fear, and has just channeled that into, you know, what she's meant to create here, which is standing up and being herself. And so I think this is where I'm going to wrap up today. And I would love to hear your own insights about Lizzo's chart if you've had any. And also, watch the documentary because that taught me so much. I usually love watching documentaries about people and just pulling up their chart and just reading at the same time. That teaches me a lot about astrology. And also, I think that for me as an aspiring musician, as somebody who, also wants to put healing arts into that, this is so beautiful. Like, her journey is so beautiful to me because she's just naturally expressing what she loves to do, and at the same time providing so much healing, so much validation for her community and for so many people out there who really resonate with her. So, thank you, Lizzo. Thank you for everyone that is watching as well. I hope you enjoyed this. And if you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I will tune in with you soon. Ciao, ciao. Bye.